Once again, Jesus continues this sermon that turns everything upside down. Last week, if you recall, we heard the beginning of this sermon where the Beatitudes are given to us. Jesus renders those blessed who experience trial and persecution and a lack of wealth or health or reputation. And he calls these folks blessed. And on the other hand, when we are full of food and things and goodnesses that seem to be good of this world anyway, we're called cursed, or at least a woe in our lives. And Jesus just doesn't stop. That train keeps rolling today as he unfolds this teaching to his disciples. Now he reminds us, as I mentioned last time, love your enemies. Do good to those who aren't very nice to you. Pray for your persecutors. Someone takes something from you, don't go to war over it. If someone does something bad, you don't have to do something bad in return. In other words, Jesus is looking at his disciples and just saying to them, be excellent. Be excellent. Don't be like the other people in the world. Be above that. Rise above that. Be something new. Be excellent. Now, I think we first have to make clear that Jesus is not condoning injustice, and he's not condoning victimization and taking abuse. That's not what he's saying today. For there are times, of course, when we need to stand up for justice, where we need to defend those who need defending, including ourselves. But what Jesus, I think, is speaking to today is calling us to be a new kind of human being. Be a new kind of person. In other words, don't be like the animals. Don't be like the animals who just react and do things. Be above that. We can go back to our second reading today. The apostle reminds us that Jesus came as the new Adam. That the old Adam was of the earth. He was fleshly. He was earthly. And therefore, everybody who comes after him is going to be like him. And they are going to die. And they are going to go back to the earth. But the new Adam, that final man, Jesus Christ, he was a spiritual being. I mean, yes, he took on our flesh, but he was of the Spirit, that he was of God. And to be of the Spirit, to be this spiritual man, means that you overcome death, that you rise above the things of the world. And so we really have a choice to be like the old Adam or to be like the new Adam, to be one who dies or to be one who lives. How do we do that? Well, Jesus' sermon today, I think, is less about justice and injustice and all of those sorts of things, and more about taming the animal within us. Because there is a part of us that remains animalistic. And we are in this world that is dominated by an animalistic behavior. In other words, it's the dog-eat-dog world. If you look around, if anybody tells you about success, they're going to tell you that you need to secure the first place for yourself. And you need to push others away so that there's a place for you. And you need to take what rightly belongs to you. And you need to be the loudest one in the room or your voice isn't going to be heard. And you need to be the biggest and the strongest and the most active and the fastest and so on and so forth. That this is the way to survive. This is the way to get ahead, to be successful. Look around us. The world is full of men and women like this, climbing to the top, not worrying about who gets pushed aside along the way. This is the animal behavior within us. All of us have this coursing through our veins. You feel it when we enter into those situations like Jesus talks about today. When someone strikes you, what's the first reaction? The first reaction is to be like, what the heck? And then to maybe strike back, or at least to yell. When anger wells up in us, we want to make ourselves bigger. We want to yell. We want to slam doors. Or we want to give that silent treatment and make the other person suffer in silence. We want to be strong. When we have been victimized, we want to do the victimization. There's a part of us, even when you go onto social media or read the news or scroll through what's happening in the world through the internet, sometimes you feel that fire raising up within you or that anger, and you just want to start letting people know exactly what you think. All for good reason, of course. I need those idiots to know what the truth is, and here it is. I need to punch you in the face with what is right because you don't know it. And so we might have good intentions, but we come at it with such an animalistic behavior sometimes. What Jesus is telling his disciples today is to tame the animal, domesticate this wild creature within you. It was the first vocation, again, given to our parents in the garden. Have dominion over the world. And the first part of that world that you should have dominion over is your own body. This is the part of the world that I need to tame first. I need to domesticate this because the Lord doesn't want me to be like an animal. He doesn't want me just to react. I feel something and I do it. I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. And I don't care if your name is on it in the refrigerator, I'm taking it anyway. I'm feeling poor, I need to take what should be mine. I'm feeling angry, I need to let somebody know it. I'm feeling lustful, I need to do something about that. That I feel these things, all of the passions that we experience, and the animalistic response is just to express it, just to do it, just to enter into that world. Well, if we are that person, we will die by that person. What the Lord invites us to do is to become spiritual creatures. In baptism, we received the Spirit. And in confirmation, that Spirit was given personally to us. And we possess the gifts of the Spirit: wisdom, knowledge, understanding, fortitude, piety, right judgment. We all of the gifts, they belong to us. And these are the gifts that tame that animalistic person within us. The Spirit does not want to be dominated by the body, but rather the body ought to be dominated by the Spirit. So when I feel these things welling up within me, my reason, my mind, my soul has to step in and train my body to calm down, to be quiet, to enter into the silence, to embrace meekness, to be forgiving and merciful, etc., etc. It's the man of the Spirit who conquers the flesh that craves for satisfaction. The Lord does not desire us to remain animals. He has called us to become children of God. And this is what Jesus says as he's teaching his disciples, that if you become this person, then you will become children of the Most High. Then you will become sons and daughters of God. You will become spiritual beings where your soul teaches your body how to be. We do not want to be reactive individuals in the world. The world is full of those, and it's getting us nowhere. You and I need to be a different kind of people, a people who govern the things of the world by the powers of the soul, by our reason, by the gifts that the Lord has given us. And then, and only then, do we become great. As we continue to pray for our Holy Father, who is in critical condition in the hospital, maybe near death, we don't know. Nobody knows the day or the hour. He gives us an example of strength and courage in weakness. And I remember going through this 20 years ago under the leadership of John Paul II, whose end of life time was long and frail and weak. And I remember as a seminarian, I would give tours of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, and people would ask about the Holy Father and just say, shouldn't he just give up? Shouldn't he just lay it down and give it to someone else? Because what can he do in the hospital bed? Being a priest, being a pope, is not about administration. It's not about signing documents and governing first and foremost. It's about demonstrating holiness. And it's about teaching people how to live in the world. And the one thing that Jesus Christ always showed us was that to be great in the world is to be the least, to be the weakest, to be the one who is broken on the cross. And if Jesus at the end of his life was pleased to be fastened to the cross and to demonstrate utter weakness and utter shame, then it's fitting that our shepherd do the same thing, to stand before us completely weak and shameful, that he can't do anything except demonstrate what real strength looks like. This is where the power of the world is held. It's held in the soul. And when we conquer the things and the attitudes of strength and animalistic behavior in the world, then we know what strength truly is. So as Jesus once again calls us to reject the way of the world and to be spiritual creatures, then we have become saints. We have entered into that place that we've been called to go. You and I are called not to die as animals in the world, but to live as spiritual beings, not only here, but in the kingdom forever hereafter.